Gaudete. Rejoice. I say it again, rejoice. What's it like being commanded to rejoice? Does it bring you back to like when your parents say, now we're going to do this and you're going to be happy? You know, some people were happy today, or happy enough to wear their pink rose, rather. But there's, how can you rejoice with the deep injustice that we call finals week? How can one rejoice with the deep injustice of only 10 more shopping days? And there are more enduring challenges in our lives, aren't there? That can sometimes make it hard to rejoice, especially on command. Certainly as a nation, we've been facing, maybe in a more focused way lately, racism, torture, war, and authorization for war, violence, the place of violence, if any, in our lives, the violence of all kinds of injustice. And yet, we're called to rejoice. We have the audacity to call a Sunday Rejoice Sunday, Gaudete Sunday. No wonder sometimes people think of Christians as just looking through the world with rose-colored glasses. In the face of injustice, we at least want to have the hope of having somebody to look to, a leader. Sometimes people say, well, boy, where's our Martin Luther King now? Or where's our Gandhi now when we need them? And here's John the Baptist refusing to bring us that kind of hope. People come after him one after the other. Are you the one? And he just keeps relentlessly downplaying his role. You know, I'm not even worthy to untie the sandals of the one who is to come. Well, then where's he? This Jesus that John the Baptist came to prepare the way for, he does come. He comes upon the scene, and he stands up in the synagogue and proclaims that passage from Isaiah that we heard today. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me and sent me to bring glad tidings to the lowly, to bring rejoicing tidings to the lowly. And he says, my spirit, I rejoice heartily. I rejoice heartily. Which is great, although, again, it could also be offensive. Like, well, what's Jesus doing rejoicing when I have finals? I'm not rejoicing. I don't want Jesus to rejoice. And then we hear Mary rejoicing. Well, like I've never heard Mary rejoicing before. Thank you, Lana. I love that. There's one line especially where you dig deep for that joy. It's not the Mary from the old Zeffirelli film Jesus of Nazareth, although I love that. My soul doth proclaim the greatness of the Lord. But for Lana, my spirit rejoices in God my Savior. Now that I believe, that I buy. And this Mary is, once again, we have this theme of the Spirit. Jesus, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, and Mary says, My spirit rejoices in God, my Savior, because she says, God's going to bring down the proud. God's going to feed the hungry and send the rich away empty. So this is a Mary who rejoices because she comes proclaiming God's justice. And then we have Paul in today's second reading. Rejoice always. Not just today, rejoice always. Always, always rejoice. And he talks about the Spirit. He says, don't quench the Spirit. When Father John Paul first lit that pink candle, it was dangerously, looked like it might go out, right? Even if it does go out, that's okay, because the Spirit cannot be quenched. Why try? And yet we do sometimes try to quench the Spirit in our lives. Paul, too, it's not this rose-colored glasses, Pollyannish kind of rejoicing, though. Paul, we know, suffered greatly after he made a lot of other people suffer. He suffered greatly. And yet here he was, somehow able to say, rejoice, rejoice always. What about us? Remember John the Baptist said, oh, me? I'm just baptizing with water. And we don't get it in today's version of the reading. I think the people who put the lectionary together were too impatient because John goes on for a few more sentences before he gets to that point that we were waiting for. You were probably waiting for today. The one who is to come, he'll baptize with the Spirit. We've been baptized with the Spirit. The Spirit dwells deep within us. The Spirit pervades every cell of our being. We're called to rejoice. We're called to proclaim justice, glad tidings to the poor. A couple lights of hope that I came across this week were some statements from Catholic theologians, a statement from leaders of Catholic religious communities in our country that proclaimed a message of hope. These were statements that said things like, let's look at the racism in our own lives. How are we complicit in racism? One statement said, the theologian said, we're going to fast on Fridays and pray for racial justice in our country. And both of these groups called for the formation of a Peace and Reconciliation Commission. Have you ever heard of one of those? They've done them in other places like South Africa to great success. And I was reminded of one, I guess I'd heard about it before, one that was formed in Greensboro, North Carolina. I was very much alive. I was almost 18 by the time violence happened there having to do with race, and yet I'd forgotten all about that. Which is always, we don't want to quench our memories too, right? We don't want to shut our eyes to the violence and racism and whatever else keeps people from joy. We've been baptized in the Spirit, so we, above all people, are called to rejoice. Rejoice today, rejoice always. So I looked up the dictionary meaning of rejoice, and there's an archaic definition, which is, it's about making other people rejoice. Like, I just happened to look at joy to say this. But I could say, my goal today is to rejoice joy, to rejoice her. I'm going to encourage her. I'm going to give her good news. I'm going to offer to take her finals for her. You wouldn't want that. And I'm going to rejoice her. And so, even when we're not feeling joy, already rejoice is an action, right? It's not a feeling. We dig down deep and we rejoice. We sing Alleluia, even if we don't feel like it. It's just acknowledging that spirit within. It's acknowledging Jesus' power to save. He will come. As Paul says today, He will accomplish it. And then we also are called to rejoice others, to bring joy to others, to bring good tidings, glad tidings to others. Glad tidings of the coming of the Lord, glad tidings of Jesus' presence already in our lives, already present in our midst. It may not always look like it. We may not always feel it. But we know it, don't we? We know the saving presence of Christ in our lives. Lord, I do rejoice. Help my lack.